Do you know that? We're learning something new, maybe because we have an exam coming up, or because we're currently interested in a certain topic. After we have dealt with the learning material for a while, everything sounds logical in our heads and we have the impression that we have really understood the topic. But as soon as we try to explain things, for example in an exam, we get stuck. Somehow we don't have the words to express it clearly and we realize that we actually didn't quite understand it, although it sounded so logical in our head. Well, many of us feel that way, but it doesn't have to be. In this video, we'll discuss a method that will help you really understand what you're learning in the future and get top marks in your exams. But before that, we have to deal with two different kinds of knowledge. Ralph Nobel explains it very clearly in his book The Art of Clear Thinking with the following short story. After the famous physicist Max Planck received the Nobel Prize for his research in the field of quantum physics, he gave lectures all over Germany. His driver, who overheard the lectures, soon knew them by heart. So he suggested that the two of them could have a joke in the next town, and secretly swap roles. Planck agreed and sat in the audience at the next lecture disguised as a driver. The driver held the lecture in his place and the performance was a complete success. Enthusiastic applause and standing applause. The fake Max could reproduce everything just as well as Max Planck himself. But then, a little professor speaks up and asks a question about the content of the lecture. Of course, the chauffeur has no idea at all, he doesn't even understand the question. But he still remains calm and replies, "I'm surprised you're asking such a simple question. Even my chauffeur knows that, I'll let him answer that. What do you think is the main message of the story?" Well, the chauffeur was remarkably quick on the uptake. But that's not what it's about the fact that there are different types of knowledge, the real Planck knowledge, and the superficial chauffeur knowledge. Max Planck had the right knowledge, a deep understanding of the issues in his lectures. And his driver, not. He just learned to use the right words at the right time. He could use technical terms in the right context and reproduce the content correctly. He also had knowledge in a way, knowledge of the names and designations. But really understood, he didn't have anything. Okay, all very interesting, but what does that have to do with us? Well, maybe the following situation sounds familiar to you. We want to get a really good grade in the next exam. So we study for hours, know the whole material by heart, have a really good feeling. But then come such strange questions that don't seem to have anything to do with the topic at all. These are transfer tasks that test our Planck knowledge, for example. Whether we really understand something fundamentally. We will not be able to answer them with mere chauffeur knowledge. And somehow that's unfair, because the lessons are often structured in such a way that we only learn the superficial knowledge. But there is an enormously powerful technique, the Feynman method, with which we can develop a deep understanding, real knowledge about pretty much any topic in a very short time and thus only write A's. Do you know the quote that is often attributed to Albert Einstein? If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Or if we turn it around, if you really want to understand something in depth, then you have to be able to explain it in the simplest possible terms. And that is essentially the core of the Feynman method. Strictly speaking, it consists of 4 steps. Step 1. Explain the topic you want to learn to another person in the simplest possible terms. Once complete from front to back. The person does not have to exist in real life. The main thing is that you explain it. Whether it is in writing or verbally. But isn't that actually the wrong order? If we want to learn something new, we have to absorb as much knowledge as possible about this topic first, right? Not necessarily. If we start explaining straight away without doing a lot of research beforehand, we'll probably find ourselves in trouble pretty quickly. But that's exactly the idea behind the Feynman method, and it brings us straight to Step 2. Identify knowledge gaps. Every time you get in trouble for explanation, or if you use complicated terms and technical terms, make a small note. Once you've completely finished explaining, you'll immediately see all the things you don't know. And you only have to concentrate on them. Let's go to Step 3. Fill in the knowledge gaps. Just look up everything you wrote down in Step 2 in your books or other sources. For technical terms and complicated words, try to find either simpler words or appropriate pictures and everyday examples. Step 4. Repeat the process and simplify until you can explain the entire topic from start to finish without any problems and without any technical terms. The central element of the Feynman method is simplification, because this is where the magic happens. That's all, folks. If you liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell to stay up to date. Until next time. At MindSword.